What did I tell you? What did I effing tell you? You're going to jail. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, you are. You didn't think you were going to jail. I told you were going to jail. You said, no, I'm not in jail. Then I said, that's not what I said. I said, you're going to jail. And then you said, that's ridiculous. No one knows that I was at the protest. Oh, they know. The FBI has, and Tim Pool already covered this, but I don't care. I have to cover this because I said this from the beginning. The FBI are building the case, and they're going to come in and they're going to sweep you people up. Federal charges. Here it is from the Department of Justice, DOJ. 74 people facing federal charges for crimes committed during Portland demonstrations. Crimes include assaulting federal officers, arson, failing to obey lawful orders, and damaging federal property. I told you. You people are effed. You are effed. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole press release here. You know, it just goes over what happens and how the FBI supports peaceful protesting, but you can't do this stuff. And these are only charges, so some of these people will probably skate or get, whatever. But some of them are facing 20 years. 20 years in federal prison. Defendants include, and they list them all, most of them are in their 20s. Here's one who's 65, charged with assaulting a federal officer. Can you imagine being 65 years old and being stupid enough to do that? How old do you have to get before you realize you don't assault a law enforcement officer? Ever. Doesn't do you any good. Even if you were living in a fascist state, wouldn't do you any good to assault him. What are you doing? 65 years old, and then here's a young one, 18, charged with assaulting a federal officer. I mean, most of these are assaulting a federal officer. Do you know what a huge effing crime that is? Oh, these people are in so much trouble. I mean, assaulting a federal officer, creating a hazard on federal property, disorderly contact, failing to obey a lawful order, destruction of federal property, assaulting a federal officer, assaulting a federal officer, assaulting a federal officer. It just goes on and on and on. And you could forget about anyone who's out of state. That's instant federal crime. Instant. You instantly made it a federal crime by crossing a state line, you moron. You woke idiot. You woke-tard. I mean, yeah, some of these, like failing to obey a lawful order, I don't know how. I don't even know what you get for that. But this guy, 21, charged with arson. Oh, that's not good, man. You get charged with arson, oh, you're going away. If you get sentenced, you get sentenced. Oh, man. And these assaulting a federal officer, bad. Really effing bad. You are so screwed. You people are so screwed. You're going to have federal charges. And those of you in your 20s, yeah, you probably get out by the time you're in your 30s, mid-30s, somewhere like that. Maybe you got your life to pull together. 65? Oh, you could probably die in prison. I mean, there's a good chance you're going to die in prison. Jesus, at 65, you get a 20-year sentence for assaulting a federal officer. Out in maybe 12, you'll be like 77. Jesus, your life is over, dude. What the hell? It's just unbelievable. Here's a guy my age, 54, charged with failing to obey a lawful order. That charge is weak, and there are a few of them here, but I mean, it's mixed in with arson and assault on a federal officer, assault on a federal officer. It's like 6, 7, 8 people in a row, all charged with assaulting a federal officer. I mean, you can't do that. You can't hit a cop. You can't hit a cop. You just can't do that. It's crazy. It's crazy to hit him. You just go to the police station. First off, that's their whole job to maintain order. So, unless they're like actively killing you, that you just go with them. They just cuff you and take you to the police station. So 99% of the time, that's all they do. And 99% of the time, if you're just chill and say, "Oh, okay," sometimes they let you go, and if they take you to the police station, you just quietly sit there until you get your lawyer or get out. But none of these woke morons understand that. They don't care. They're too possessed. They're too possessed by their idiocy. I mean, 18. Can you imagine having your kid 18? Here's another one. Charged with failing to obey a lawful order. Yeah, he might get off at 18. At 18, the judge might feel bad for you. But when you're 34, no. 34 charged with assaulting a federal officer, you're screwed. What are you going to say to the judge? That this is a youthful indiscretion? You're 34 years old, dude. Here's another one. It's tragic. 18. Charged with failing to obey a lawful order. That's no good, man. This guy, at 23, a Texas resident. That's federal crime, dude. You crossed the state line, you idiot. Charged with assaulting a federal officer. Dummy. So dumb. So dumb. Maybe you could argue you're a special needs kid because you're so stupid as to hit a cop after crossing a state line. I can only begin to tell you. Now, of course, there's even more, and Andy knows right on top of it. Here's some of the people they're looking for the arson and destruction at the Justice Center on May 29th. And this is just the first round. This is the stuff from May. They haven't even caught up to the stuff, when they burned the police union hall twice. That happened in July. They haven't even caught up to those charges. So they're looking for all these idiots. So this is, again, like the Weather Underground in the 60s, right? So they're going to charge all these people. Some of them will be caught. Some of them will get away and go on to, build lives. And, maybe they move out of Portland and go, "Oh, why did I do that? I'm wanted in Portland. I can never go back." And maybe they change their name or hair color or whatever. And they go on until 25 years later. "Hey, aren't you that guy?" And then boom, off to jail you go. So enjoy that. Now, here is another thing that Andy No cover, and this is in the post-millennial. Let me close that. Seattle Antifa group arrested in Kenosha with riot gear, controlled substances. All right, here's how stupid these people are. They showed up to Kenosha in a bus and a bunch of other vehicles, and they had Riot Kitchen painted on the bus. Okay? So it's called Members of Riot Kitchen 206, a quote, no-charge kitchen serving protesters, activists, movements, and those in need in Seattle, Washington, have been arrested by authorities in Kenosha, Wisconsin, after police suspected that they were, quote, preparing for criminal activity related to the civil unrest. And not to read the whole thing, but because Tim Pool also covered this, but basically they were caught filling up canisters of gasoline, which they claimed were for their vehicles and generators. But yeah, right. I'm sure these guys got plenty of mason jars and oily rags. And also, apparently, one of the minivans tried to leave, and they were ordered to stop, and they pretended like they didn't hear or whatever. And then, I know, Joan, I know. The cops ended up smashing out their windows and grabbing everybody. Here, you want to come over here? Say hi to everybody, even though you have your own camera. You have your own camera, Joan. Why you got to be on my camera? Why you got to be on mine? So, and they were caught with riot gear and controlled substances. So here's how dumb these guys are. They don't think the cops are scrutinizing them, that they can just go to Wisconsin willy-nilly. And again, you cross state lines, dummy. That's federal charges. Do. Goodbye. Goodbye, Antifa. Going to jail. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. People in Wisconsin don't give an F about your wacky politics. All they care about is that you had a bunch of riot gear, apparently, in your bus, And you had all kinds of, and I'm sure they've got, uh, evidence to beat the ban from Facebook and Twitch and whatever the hell you're using to live stream, because you idiots can't stop filming yourselves. You can't stop bragging about your woke politics. You're gonna learn the hard way that you should have shut the f up, and you shouldn't have broadcast any of this. You shouldn't have put it on Twitter. You shouldn't have bragged to anybody. You shouldn't have used the internet at all, because the government is tapped into the internet, and when they want to, they'll find you. They'll find you, and they'll have all that information because you're using your phones, your iPhones made by Chinese slave labor, because you're so concerned about the marginalized people. Oh yeah, you use your wacky iPhones to transmit, and the government's got that locked up. They got that locked up. If you want to avoid the cops, the first thing you got to do is throw away your cell phone. Dummies. They let you do this. Yes, they let you do this. Because normally the locals would have thrown you in jail. Normally, under normal circumstances. We're not in normal circumstances. These Democrats they sent out a memo at some point and said, let this fester, and then we'll be able to say Donald Trump ruined the country. Look at all these riots. Donald Trump. Yeah, how'd that work out? Not too good. Not too good, because no one blames Trump for the riots that you people exacerbated by making the cops stand down, and all that evidence is coming out, and then there's just the outright denial that it's a riot. That's the most hilarious thing ever. Like, you got CNN with like burning buildings in the background, mostly peaceful. Yeah, it was pretty peaceful. I mean, it was fiery, but yeah, that's expected to happen, but peaceful. One guy from like the NRA shows up with a machine gun, and CNN has a complete and utter mental breakdown about what happened in Virginia like 2 years back. But buildings on fire, people rioting in the streets, murdering each other. Well, that's a protest. It's a little out of hand, but not really. It's a little fiery, a little spicy, a little spicy. Oh, these guys are so effed, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy they're going to jail, because they all deserve to go to jail. And that is why, as well, and this is more great news. There's more Antifa guys going to jail. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. They're reporting that it was very peaceful at in Portland. Why was it all suddenly peaceful? Well, Andy No and Tim Pool are both saying, well, it's because the Antifa guys have finally felt the brunt of arrest, because they picked up 74 members and they arrested Riot Kitchen. They realize, the feds are actually coming for us, and no one's fronting for us anymore, because the Democrats aren't fronting for you anymore. For a while they could, and I'm sure they could gum up the works by saying, well, don't let the FBI in, keep putting them off. Well, now Governor Evers has had enough. He's let the National Guard in, and so they're clamping down. So no more riots. And despite the fact Jenny Durkin went on MSNBC during the RNC, and I swear to God, she once again denied the riots. Just said, oh, no, it's fine. It's way out of proportion. Oh, right. All those deaths in the Chaz, and all the rioting, and the smashed businesses, and the millions of dollars leaving your city. Oh, that was all an illusion concocted by Fox News, I'll wager. But now it's peaceful, or at least they had a peaceful night in Portland, because understand that Antifa doesn't have the numbers. That's why everybody in Portland hightailed it to Wisconsin to get in on that riot and try to stir things up. They're trying desperately to get more people to rise up, because they're under the misguided impression that they could get people to join them. Because, they love the rioting. Yeah, no, we get them to riot too, then they'll join us, and they'll become commies too. None of these people are becoming commies. None of the people in Chicago or Wisconsin. There's a handful of communists, but most of these guys are not interested in communism. They're interested in looting stores. They like that. They like stealing stuff. They like, smashing things. They like lawlessness because most of them are criminals. But you've aligned yourself with criminals. And the only place Antifa has to go is more and more criminality. As I said, this is like a phase, right? So we're at the end part of the first phase where Antifa stops becoming a political movement and starts becoming more criminal, because that's the only way the movement can move forward. They have to become more criminal, and naturally, most people will leave the movement. So what they're going to discover in the next few weeks is their membership is going to start to dry up, because after 74 people went away and the FBI sniffing around and they're getting strange emails and calls like, were you at the Portland demonstration? We'd like to talk to you, kind of thing. People are going to get scared. These college students won't know what to do or say or how to act. And when they get pulled in, and you could talk a big game when you're sitting in the communist bookstore saying, oh yeah, if the cops pull me in, I'd rather let them torture me than give up my comrades. But, when they pull you in and explain to you that you're facing 20 years in prison or 10 years in prison or whatever you're facing in prison for what you've done in the riots, and that they got you on video and they got you bragging about it on Facebook or Twitter or on your phone, you're effed. Oh, but they'll give you a way out. And the way they're going to give you a way out is you're going to rat out all your friends. You're going to wear a wire, you're going to go undercover, and you are going to work for the feds. That's what I think already happened, because according to the article about Riot Kitchen, the police or the feds were tipped off. I'm not sure. I think it was the police that were tipped off. Multiple agencies, including the U.S. Marshal Service, led the operation. So, they got a tip. That can also be a code word for their informant gave them all the information. The informant may get arrested too. You're not going to be able to figure out who the informant is. They already know that drill. They know, okay, we're going to scoop you up, and then at some point we're going to don't worry if we arrest you. You'll be let go at some point, and nobody will know, and whatever. And that's what'll happen, right? You'll suddenly be sitting in that jail cell, and it'll be like, hey, where's Fred? Wasn't Fred picked up too? And Fred will be gone. Fred will be home, because Fred ratted you out. And you'll see him again at the trial where he points at you and says, yeah, that's him. That's the guy who came to me in the communist bookstore and said, we're going to go burn down the police station tonight. And he organized everything, I believe. And then his friend bought the gas. And then, and she made cupcakes that night, and they were full of edibles. So that's illegal too. So you might want to arrest her. And then, he'll just rat you all out. And you'll be like, what? My best friend? It's the mafia, dude. It's exactly what happens in the mafia. Your best friend betrays you. So after all these betrayals and people going to jail, what the Antifa members will realize is they got to kick up their game, and they'll become more and more criminal, and they'll lose their numbers. They'll still support Antifa. A lot of these people who quit, they'll just support them from home, and they'll just go, oh, I don't want to be arrested. And they'll just be like your armchair warriors. They'll be the people who donate to your wacky GoFundMe pages, which, by the way, GoFundMe, I'm going to call it now. I think the feds will go after GoFundMe, because there's too much illegality going, and these guys are funneling money to people who are doing criminal acts. And I think they're gonna get GoFundMe on that. I think they will at some point. I think they're like low on the priority list, but I think at some point GoFundMe is going to get slammed, and they're going to be at least threatened, and then you're going to see GoFundMe go, okay, we don't do any more FundMes for people in Antifa or whatever. Yep. And then your money will be cut off there. And that's when Antifa really has to kick it up and become a criminal organization, or more so, because they're going to have to make money to operate. And so the real hardened members will then form these real, more gang-like things where they come up with schemes to make money. And, they're going to try to bridge the gap between their ideology and making money, but the money will become more and more at the forefront because it has to be, because they'll never have enough money. These guys will always be scraping for money. This is what criminals do. They're always looking for money until they get a big operation, like they're dealing drugs or whatever. Then lots of money and rolling in, but it's illegal, and they got to spend a ton of time, making sure they're not going to jail and making sure their illegal operation flourishes, right? So it just can, like politics consume them, soon their criminality will consume them, because they'll have no other choice. And yeah, they'll still say, oh, well, we're still communists, but we have to make money in order to make communism work. And you're going to see these left-wingers turn into, the opposite sort of crime lords. They're going to be left-wing crime lords. It's coming. I called it. And I told you, you're going to jail. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. Go to jail.